kind of disappointed in Oklahoma. But, you know, it is what it is. Don't pay attention to the smoke cloud that's coming out of my truck. So, now, and what Pastor better watch out is the, you know, I saw some on the internet the other day, and everybody knows the internet is true.
Absolutely.
Somebody had one of those noodles, those swimming pool noodles, and you know what they found in it? A rattlesnake in the noodle. So check them noodles out before you look at them. I also had a guy the other day was working on a phone terminal. I had been down there looking for it and I didn't find it because I was in grass this tall. And I thought, man, there's no terminal down there. There could be snakes, because when I looked at the creek or the river, I looked down there and I saw a water moccasin swimming across it, and I thought, I'm done. Somebody else can go down there and look for that. And he went down there, he found where a lid's lightning had hit it, blown it off, and melted the cable. And he said, I picked that lid up, and he said, I thought that felt a little heavy. Now this guy has no fear. And he said, I looked in there and there was a big snake. So he took it up and he said, because when the guys came to bring the backhoe to dig it up, he was going to scare them. And he said he went back down there to get his lid. Well, the lid was gone.
The snake backed it off.
And he said, surely those guys did not load that because it got kind of blown apart. And they went down there and was grabbing stuff. They threw it in their truck. And he went up there because and he dug that snake out of there, because I guess he grabbed it and was holding it out of him. He said those guys aged before his eyes. You know, there's just, we had a warning come out today that somebody in North Carolina, they're investigating a phone guy who got bit by a snake in North Carolina. So they're out there. So be careful. I had one guy one day reached into the terminal, and when he pulled his hand out, he had a copperhead attached to the end of it. Yay, snakes! It's wonderful. But Pastor called me about, I don't remember when it was, 11:30 or 12, and I missed his call, and when I got back in my truck, he said, is it too late for you to speak tonight? And I said, I'm stretching, Pastor, I'm stretching. And so we're going to talk for just a short period of time. Mark and him, he asked me if I had a scripture. We're going to look at James 4 and 8. That's what I gave you, Doris. Is that right? Oh, look at that. When we are born into this world, and after we get big enough when we're a little bit older, let's just say when we start kindergarten, what is one of the things that we begin to do, that we do for the rest of our life? Anybody else?
Breathe.
Well, breathe. That's a good one, Heiko. What do we do?
Tell lies.
Learn to read. When we start going to school, what do? We build relationships, right? And that goes from the start of kindergarten, even before that, but just say at kindergarten, what do? We build relationships. What do you look for, whether it's a friend, what do you look for in a relationship? What's the first thing? What do you look for in relationships as you begin to grow?
Be like me.
Huh?
Be like me.
Be like me? Yeah?
Yeah.
So what's a character? What do you look for in somebody if you want a relationship with somebody? Huh?
Somebody to listen.
Okay. Somebody.
Honesty. Trust.
Honesty. Trust. Do you want somebody to be there if you're hurting?
Yeah.
Loyalty. That's what you look for. Anybody ever had a friend stab them in the back?
Yeah.
Did it hurt?
But I can't drink water anymore.
Are they still friends? Is there still a relationship? But we spend time working and building relationships. Now, when I was I had a friend that I met him when I was in kindergarten. I have known him now for 56 years. he was always the brother that I didn't have because I had two sisters. We were alike, except for the fact that he was 6'4", and I was 5'4" forever, and then I grew 7 inches, so he was 6'4", and I was 5'11", 6 if I want to stretch it. We did everything. Never remember having a cross word with him, ever. Now, we don't have so much in common now because I got saved, and he's not. Now, he's still a friend. I get one phone call from him a year on my birthday. And what he always says, are you in the nursing home yet? Because I am from March 11th to April 2nd older than him. But I get one phone call from him a year. I call him on his birthday, but I call him other times. But he's always been, he's a lifelong friend. So we look for relationships because we want them to do what? Turn into lifelong friendships, right? So you all name some things that you look for in friendship. You want loyalty. You want somebody that's fun to be around. You want somebody that's got your back if something happens. You want somebody to be there to cry with you if you're crying. You want somebody to be happy with you if you're happy. You want somebody to celebrate the successes that you have in life because God created us to be what? In relationship. And that's why pastor has in our churches different groups, different ages, and he wants us to interact because he wants what? Relationships, and for us to be a family. So if you're going to be a family, you have to have relationships. Now, if I take it from the point of view, because I can talk about myself and not make anybody mad. But about 1980, I had been dating a girl that I thought I was going to get married to. I had asked her, she said yes. Now, here's a warning. If you say, don't you think we ought to get an engagement ring? And she says, maybe we ought to wait. And let's don't tell anybody. I think that ought to set off an alarm. But I was just stupid enough. I thought, she just wanted to give a big, well, that went by the wayside. I remember before I met my now wife, this would have been about November or so of 1980. I remember thinking, I didn't go to church. It wasn't really, I don't think, what you would call a prayer. Could have been. But I remember thinking, what would I want in a girlfriend? And I thought, I want somebody that's got blonde hair. I want somebody that would have blue or green eyes. Didn't really care. I wanted somebody that had not been around the world multiple times. I wanted somebody that went to church. And that was just thoughts going through my head. It was just a thought. And so through the course of events, I started work down here on January 5th of 1981. And I met her January 6th. But it didn't go well. Because she got set up and she didn't know she was coming to meet me. And unbeknownst to me, I thought she knew. So I had a wonderful conversation with her mother, but she didn't talk. Not a word. But anyway, so as time went on, I got up the nerve to call and ask her out. I asked her out, I said, let's go eat lunch. And my preface behind that was, I want to go take her to eat lunch and find out if we can carry on a conversation. If she wasn't going to conversate, then that was going to be it. But she talked. So I went through that. We went out February 22nd, 1981. I got saved because she asked me to come to church. And so as I began to grow in the Lord and learn and begin to look at a relationship, God brought to my remembrance, He said, do you remember what you asked? And I thought, what? And he said, look at her. I said, what color is her hair? He said, it's blonde. What color are her eyes? Blue or green, depending on the day. Because I used to tell her, can you make your eyes blue today? I don't have control of that. Can you make them green? She grew up in church. She had not been around well. Probably the most naive girl that I ever dated. I didn't know they were that naive. I feel kind of bad because I think I corrupted her. But yet, God had placed her in my life to build a relationship with. And so, as I began to get to know her, there's nothing that I don't know about her. I know her great moments. I know her sad moments. I know that if you have a few days and the clouds are out and I don't open the curtains and it's dark in the house, she will still battle little bouts of depression because of the darkness. So you've got to, it just affects her. So the curtains are open. I know all about her brothers. I know about her sister. I know about all the loss that she's had in her family. I know about all the guys that she dated, and they're all fat, bald, and toothless now. And she went through a bunch, but I got to know and develop that relationship because I talked to her, I asked questions, and still to this day I do the same thing. She said, there's not a question you can ask me that you haven't already asked me, but I still keep trying. Because the relationship means more to me than anything. And so I am comfortable with her in a relationship. I know her. I know she's going to be home when I get home. I know she'll cook if I want something to eat, whether it's peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a full-blown meal. But it's a relationship because I know I would not do anything to her to hurt that relationship. There isn't a woman out there that holds any interest on me that I would decide I want to go look and graze on the other side of the fence to see what's over there. I just don't want to. God gave her to me. I don't want, sometimes I've heard said if you go where the grass looks greener, and Pastor said it, normally there's a septic tank underneath it. And the thing about it is she pretty? Yes. Do I tell her she gets prettier every day? Yes. Is she prettier than when we got married? Yes. But the thing about it is, it's not the beauty, it's the inside. It's the person that's inside. It's what's inside of her that you love because, believe it or not, her body's changing. And I don't mean that bad. My body's changing. What was once in my chest has sunk to my stomach. I have Dunlap disease. My belly Dunlapped over my belt. It just happens. Beauty fades away. But you know what? What's inside of her and everything that's in her, the relationship that I built, it's still going to be there. And so, I'm happy to go home every day. I don't want to go home to that battle axe. I don't want to go home because when I walk in the door, I know it's going to be a fight. or silent treatment or whatever. How many times have we ever raised our voices at each other? Come on, give an honest answer.
Say that again.
She said, probably once when she bought the coupon book. That's a whole story in itself.
Preaching next Wednesday?
Yeah. But probably in our married life, 36 years plus the year and 16 months we dated, there's one time that she remembers us raising our voice.
That wasn't me, that was you.
It wasn't us, it was you.
Just a minute. Let it go around now. I'm ready to go again. But the girl that I was supposed to marry, she asked me one day, I wonder what it would be like if we ever got in a fight. That's warning sign number 2. I said, what do you mean if we ever got in a fight? Well, if we had a disagreement, what would it be like? I said, I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to know. So I don't look to go home and have fights. I have told her if I ever get to the point, it's no disrespect to you, but I said if I ever get to the point that I turn away from you and I walk out the door, don't think of it as an insult because I'm getting ready to say something that I don't want to say, so I'm going outside to cool off. Because once the words are out, you can't take them back. Now, in our relationship, unfortunately, I have said things because I think it's a guy thing in our DNA. We have to have the last word sometimes. Sometimes you say it because if you think if you don't, you're going to blow up, you're going to combust, you're going to disappear from this earth in 1,000 pieces because you didn't say it. And when I have said it, I immediately see the hurt in her eyes, and I can't take it back. So I have to apologize, and I have to tell myself, dummy, don't do that. Don't say that. Now, she's not Miss Angelic and Perfect because she has said stuff to me. Just not as often. But I enjoy my relationship. I wouldn't trade my relationship for anything. But if you take the same things that you want in a relationship from people, and you don't want the hurts, and you don't want that, you know who you can develop a relationship with that he won't ever hurt you? Jesus. Let me ask this. Lisa has failed me at times. I have failed her. Can anybody sitting right here now, and if you want to lift your hand, you can. Has God ever failed anybody here?
Never.
Have you thought he failed you? Do you think that he doesn't care and he's not listening? Like my wife says, David, what did I just ask you? I don't know. Did you talk to me? Yes. My head's buried in a football game. Sorry, dear. I'll try to do better. But has God ever failed us? What do you want in a relationship? Somebody said loyalty. Is God loyal? You want faithfulness? Is God faithful? Yes. You want. I wanted. Lisa, I'm sure wanted somebody that was a good provider. I've worked all these years for AT&T, and it's been a very good job. Is God a provider?
Yes.
Because when my AT&T check didn't go far enough, and I've said this, when you go home and your wife has written your bills, and I say, where are we at? You don't want to know, and we're $118 in the hole, and I just got paid, and I got 2 boys at home that was on Isomil or whatever that stuff was called. It's liquid gold, and diapers were, it's like, let them run around naked. Instead of putting diapers, we went and bought a ton of cloth diapers because Thomas would break out with the Pampers. We thought, hey, great, this is wonderful. We got all these cloth diapers. Matthew was born. He'd break out into cloth diapers, and we had to buy Pampers, so they become wipe rags from a car. But yet, God is a provider. Is He there to hold us when we're hurting? Is He there to comfort us when we lose somebody? Is He there to comfort us when we've been church hurt?
Yes.
Is He there to uphold us and uplift us and tell us every time we turn around that He loves us? Because God is what? He is faithful. If you haven't been successful in relationships, build your relationship with God
Here you go.
and put it with Him, and all the other stuff He can add to you.
That's right.
Well,
I have a sister that's 7 years older than me. Her husband came in, she had a 2-year-old daughter. Her husband came in one day and he said, "I don't love you anymore and I'm leaving." And she said he took the 3 things that mattered to him most: the car, his recliner, and the TV. And out he went. And I spent years telling my sister, "You can get remarried again. You've got the grounds. You've got the basis." She never remarried. And one day I was talking to her, because I would always bring that up. And I'm little brother. You know, so she's big sister, so now she was my middle sister. And she was talking and she said, "You know what?" She said, "God is so good to me." She said, "I can ask Him and talk to Him about anything and He listens." She said, "He's always going to be there." She said, "He's not going to hurt me. He's not going to leave me." And she said, "I just thank Him and ask Him," and what she had done and what God said and told me, "Don't you worry about her, because her relationship is with me, and I am going to take care of her." Now that's been 1981, and this is 2018. She never got remarried, and I mean she dated some people, but when I call her and talk to her, she prays about everything. I mean, literally every single item in her life, she prays about everything because of her relationship that she has with God. And so all her decisions are based on what she feels like God wants her to do. Is she blessed financially? Yes. Did she raise her daughter? I mean, was it difficult sometimes? Yes. Is her daughter happy now? She's married, got two girls. Her home is paid for. She has no debt. She's got friends. She has some health issues, but God will take care of that. But because she built her relationship with God and all that is with Him, He is not going to forsake her. He's not going to leave her. He's going to love her until the rapture, or until God takes her home. She can trust Him when you trust Him for your decisions and what you're going to do. You can trust that and go with that, because the relationship that you build with Him is more important than the relationship that I have built with her. Because it is. God told me one time, He said, "David, if you would spend as much time building your relationship with me as you spent building your relationship with her, you would be a whole lot further along with me than what you are now." And I still haven't learned that lesson. And I don't have an excuse. I loved my dad. But I cannot stand here and tell you that we had a close relationship that I see that some guys or girls had with their dad. My dad worked. He had a second job, because when we were home, he worked for OG&E, and it wasn't enough money to go around and raise a family, and he went and he painted houses all over the place to make extra money. He drove us around for Little League baseball games. He was there to coach me. He taught me how to play golf. We did that. We got into some really good competition because I got where I was pretty good and he didn't want me to beat him. And so it was an unspoken competition. But yet, we could get in the truck, we could drive to Lake Texoma and never say a word to each other. Just sit there and drive. I didn't know that he was born in Page, Oklahoma till he had 30 years with OG&E. And I read it in the OG&E magazine, Meter magazine. They said, Thomas M. Owens celebrating 30-year anniversary with OG&E. He was a native of Page, Oklahoma. I never knew that. Because we didn't take time to have that kind of relationship. Now, I know he loved me. I know he did because I got whoopings from him. Didn't get very many because he had the look. And if you got the look and his lips disappeared, you were really in trouble. That was when he got mad. But James 4:8 says, draw nigh to God, and He'll do what? So when I met her, did I draw nigh to her? She drew nigh to me, right? Is it any different building a relationship with God? What's it take? It takes time, right? Conversation. It takes effort. What do you think would happen if I went home and I walked in the house and I sat down and got my chair and turned on my TV and never said a word to her? What would happen? Is there any guy here that does that? Your husband? Slap him. Oh, wait a minute. You're the new high guy. But that relationship would not go very long, right? Because she would be in my face, in front of the TV, and I would see the Lisa look. But yet, it takes time. It takes effort. It took time for me to get to know her. And just when I think that I know everything about her, she changes the rules, and then I'll start all over again. But God is no different. If we draw nigh to Him, He will draw nigh to us. But sometimes we worship from afar. Now, Jesus was in the relationship building business, because what did He do? He had what? 12 disciples. What did He do? He poured Himself into them. He built a relationship with them. He built a trust with them. Were they perfect? No. Did they struggle? Yeah. When He went to the cross, where was Peter? They all scattered, right? And Peter was far off. Do you have a far-off relationship with God? Do you sometimes feel like He's a million miles away? He hasn't moved. We have. So we have to have conversation. It takes effort. Has anybody ever gotten down to pray and talk with God, and you feel like your conversation's just bouncing off the ceiling, and you don't think He's there? I've been there. It's like, David, I'm just talking to myself. But I have to re-gear my brain to say, God, I know You hear. When Kim was praying Sunday, I know God heard all of that. And the hair on my neck would stand up. And that wasn't a show prayer. That was a sincere calling out to God. How many remember Sister Mac Hickman? Whew. When that little lady, gray-haired lady, would give out a message in tongues, the hair on the back of my neck and the hair on my legs and on my arms would stand straight up. Because she'd go, holy, holy, holy. And I mean, it just started running up my neck. And immediately I went into a reverence mode. Because I wanted to hear what she had to say. But God is in the relationship business. He will not fail us. He protects us. He keeps us. He guides us. He directs us. Lisa may fail me. God doesn't. Lisa may disappoint me. God doesn't. I disappoint Lisa all the time, but God doesn't. So, if you're here and you don't have what you would call a good relationship with God, then get busy. Well, how do you build that relationship, David? You can pray, you can all the questions I've asked her the whole time we've been dating and since we've been married, you can ask God questions too. Have any of you ever said, God, you're going to have to explain this to me because I don't understand what you're doing or what's going on? Has everybody ever asked that?
Every day.
I have.
Every day.
Do you think God has the right to ask me, David, what in the world are you doing? Because that's not what I want you to do. It's what? It's a relationship. If I've got the right to go up and ask God something and not agree with what He's doing, He has the right to ask the same thing to me and say, what in the world are you doing, David? How many times have I told you to quit doing that? How many times have I told you to do this? Because it's really, will He correct me?
Yes.
The Father corrects those who what?
He loves.
Who He loves. So, why should I bellyache if God's corrected me? Because I probably deserve it. Now, do I bellyache when Lisa corrects me? Yes, because anything I do to her, I don't deserve it. Look at this. I just got the look that freezes you. It's like the lady that got turned into the pillar of salt. That takes me hours to thaw out when I get that look. I think it, and I will say this, every woman sitting here has a look.
Amen.
It is in the DNA of women. Andy, does she have a look? Does it scare a Semper Fi Marine? I will say this. Of all the people that I've met that Lisa's known, Nita has to be the sweetest person that I have met. Where's the money? Yeah. But did you hear what she said? I still have the look. Show me the look. Come on, show it. Come on, do it. But even she has a look. Occasionally, Scotty's got a look. Lisa's got a look. I bet Juanita's got a look, doesn't she, Jim? Caught that little slight head nod. Brother Joe, does Phyllis have a look?
Absolutely not.
You ain't in him in trouble.
Now, Brother Joe, I asked you, but your voice sounded like hers, so does she have a look?
Now, son, behave yourself.
Buster, does Stella have a look?
What do you think?
Michael?
Please.
In other words, what you just said is, yes, she has a look. Anybody Stephanie have a look? That's it. Show me the look, Stephanie. Come on. Come on, just think of something that makes you mad and give me a look. Is there any woman here that can get mad for a second and give me a look? Hi, come on.
Amen.
You know what I think though? I think God's look that He gives us is always a look of love. He is love. He is love. I think He understands us better than we understand ourselves. He understands us. And if He can understand Sister Phyllis, He's all-knowing. He's omnipotent. He's omniscient. But God, and He says, take and learn of me, or learn of me, because He said, I'm what? I'm meek and I'm lowly. My yoke is easy, my burden is light, and we'll have peace. So, build a relationship. Now, in relationships, there's issues. There's always problems. Don't have answers. There's some of those things. My sister, I would still ask sometimes God, now why did that happen? I don't have an answer. I've asked God, He hadn't seen fit to give me answers, so I just have to trust in His sovereignty. Trust Him. But I say all that to say this: build your relationship with God. Now, it takes time and effort. Why do we not spend as much time with God? Too distracted by the world? Not enough hours in the day? Don't want to get up early in the morning? Don't want to stay up late at night? But let me ask this. How late did any of us sit up last night and watch TV? How many the first thing you do in the morning, you turn your phone on and you look and see if you got any Facebook likes? Or if anybody posted anything new? One of the first things I do, when I turn my phone on, I look at the weather to see if I got to work in the rain or not. I hate working in the rain. Hate it. Hate it. I just can't. And then what I do, I look at the news. And then I'll do all that, get up, get ready, and then I'll go in there and release it. We'll read a book that she's reading, and we'll read a couple of chapters in Proverbs, and we pray, and I go to work. 15 minutes. Should be more than that, right? 15 minutes. If I gave her 15 minutes a day, it would, yeah, I'd be out the door. And I wouldn't have a 401k or a retirement. God is worth more than 15 minutes a day.
Yes, He is.
He's worth more than that. He's a great God. And you know something? Even though I struggle, finances still can be a struggle for me. And yet I look back through my life, and since I got saved, there's never one single time, financial-wise, that God ever left me hang. Ever.
Amen.
And yet, I have the audacity and the nerve to panic and say, what are we going to do? Because what I'm saying, when I'm trying to take it in my hands, God, I really don't trust you. I'm going to have to handle this in my own. Because my relationship is still not to the point that I trust Him for all of that. Now I can, and I'm not, little Miss Scotty Gillespie right there, I have heard her testimony, talking about how God has continually met her financial needs, being a single mom and raising kids. And she's worked 2-3 jobs at a time. Now, you may say, she's going to wear herself out. Well, if God's providing, if He has to provide and her do 3 jobs, she said He provides the energy.
Yes.
So if you got to work 3 jobs, work 3 jobs. Because her payday's coming. You know, God always provides, but I sit there and listen to testimonies. And when she talks, I have no doubt that God's going to meet her needs, because that's what she trusts and believes, because her relationship is with God. And as long as her relationship with God is right, everything else takes care of itself. If it gets skewed, it's up. Stuff changes. If Lisa is more cranky at me than normal, I want to say, have you been praying? Because she'll tell me, I haven't been praying enough. And if she's not praying enough, things get to her. So build a relationship with her. Get to know Him. All the qualities that you guys have talked about that you wanted in a friend, God has every one of those qualities that was mentioned tonight, and so many more. Because, you know, if you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep and you cry out to God, you know who hears you? God. Because what's the scripture say? Does God ever sleep? No. He's always there 24/7. He's the greatest crisis hotline that there is, because you never get a busy signal. You never get no answer. He's always there, and you get to talk to Him. So build your relationship with God and trust Him, because He'll do the trust. Let's all stand on our feet.